Delmarva Today with Don Rush.
As we mark the holidays, there are many seeking shelter this season as government pandemic assistance runs out. Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. Here in Salisbury, shelters are reporting an increase in numbers seeking to get out of the cold, and it comes just as the COVID assistance is ending. One of those facilities is the Christian Shelter. In our studio this morning is its Executive Director, Anthony Dickerson. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So what have we seen so far? As I understand a moment ago, we're seeing an increase. What kind of increase? Who's coming to you?
We're seeing a lot of families that are experiencing homelessness for the first time. Some of them have been homeless for a while. And it's really a sad situation that we have to turn so many families away at this time.
So what do you see as the cause for this, and what kind of families are you seeing?
Well, the cause, of course, COVID plays a part. There's a lack of funding available for rental assistance because, landlords, they have escalated the rent, and some of them just can't afford to pay the high cost in rent. Now they're saying the average cost to rent apartment is $1,600 a month, and that's a lot. That's a lot of money, and we're seeing families with children with 4, 5, 6 children that are experiencing this homeless situation.
And have many of these not been homeless before, or what's that like?
Right. It's sad. A lot of them are depressed, and a lot of them they feel hopeless, and they feel like that there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
So, give me an example of some of the families that have come in seeking shelter, and what has that been like, particularly with as you say, children?
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, we're a homeless shelter. We can accommodate men, women, and children, like we have a family of 6 there, and we try to have programs to accommodate the children. We have an after school program. We have a nutrition program and financial literacy. So we try to do all we can to try to help these families get on the right track. But it's challenging.
What happened to this particular family? Had they been homeless before? Or?
Yeah, they've been homeless for quite a while. They were at our shelter at one time, and their time had expired, and then they went to another shelter, and things didn't work out, and so we showed them grace. Because normally our policy, you cannot come back to us for 6 months. But after finding out that there wasn't going to have a place to stay, we kind of opened up our doors to them.
Now, in terms of it, was it headed by a single mother or family? What was that?
Mother and father.
Okay.
Yeah.
What had he done? What had he been doing?
Well, the father has a lot of challenges that is experiencing, and we try to work with him all we can. But it seemed like that we're being challenged in that area. So it's just one of those situations. Each family is different. Each family has their challenges that they're facing. And what we try to do at the shelter, we try to help them to overcome those challenges.
In terms, by the way, of the children, how young are they, and how do they adapt? I mean, this is all kind of new to them. They don't have any real long-term experience in terms of what it's like to live in a regular home. How do they adapt?
Well, they tried to adapt, and we tried to help them to adapt. Sometimes that could be a very cumbersome. Like one child, and it really broke my heart. He says, "I want to go back to my house. I want to go back to my house." And we try to tell him, mommy's gonna get a new house and a new life. He said, but I want to go back to my house. He just saying that, and it kind of really broke our heart.
Hmm.
And so we tried to again help them to deal with this homelessness. But it's really challenging for a child to be homeless. The adults, they can cope, but children, it's just something to see children deal with homeless, and that's our highest population is children. Right now at the shelter we have 25 children there, all of different ages. They range from 7 on up to 14. So you can imagine how that is.
Well, I mean, and how do you handle that? Because you not only obviously have to deal with them in terms of their day-to-day needs, but then there's also a schooling effect too,
Right.
because you don't want them to lose out.
Right.
Do they go to school or what's?
Yep. We have a partnership with the Board of Education. So every time a family comes, we notify them, and then they have a team that will come out and take care of that and make sure that every child at our shelter is enrolled in school. Yep.
When they go to school, I assume a public school, for example, do they get pushback from other children? Are other children aware of their situation, or what sense do you get about
some
that?
are and some not.
Yeah.
We had one situation where a child was being teased because he was in the shelter, and we tried to talk to him, we tried to counsel him, and then we also alerted the school that we feel that this child is being bullied because he was in the shelter. Children are cruel.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So, but we tried to help these families overcome their problems. We don't have trained social workers or caseworkers, but we have a staff that do a phenomenal job in helping our guests to overcome those challenges. We help them get their ID. We help them find housing. And I think we do a good job. 34% of our families that leave the shelter, they find housing. And hopefully by next year, I'm working on 50%.
Well, because as a matter of fact, the last time we talked, you were talking about this idea of maybe sort of having a sort of a one-stop shop for the homeless. So how is that progressing? What new things have you put in there?
Well, one of the things we have a computer lab. They can go and search for jobs and do and fill out their applications, find housing, and so forth. Since we've talked last, we've completed the roof. The roof cost us about $300,000. We was able to do that. We have all types of programs put in place. Financial literacy. We have an after-school program. We have a youth. We hired a youth mentor who takes care of the children while the parents are in devotion. We ordered new tables and chairs. We remodeled the day room, and we got new tables for our dining room. And so we're looking at in the near future. We're looking for grant money to do the upstairs, and that's going to be a joint effort.
And what will be upstairs? What do you plan on?
What we plan to do upstairs is to be a one-stop shop, not only for our guests, but for the community, where the community can come and get all their needs met. There'll be a social services there, mental health. They'll be able to get their IDs. Hopefully we'll have a barber there. And hopefully we'll have a beautician there that can do their hair. Hopefully we'll have a physician and a dentist up there. We'll have someone to help them with housing. And so they'll just have to come to one place and get all their needs.
So in terms of the fact that it is getting cold, and it will no doubt be getting colder, What is it like for someone who is homeless, whether it's a family or just an individual, and out there, and how do they get along? I mean, because it's pretty cold.
Yep. It is pretty cold, and it's cold, and now that the weather is changing, um, you know, it's been very challenging for some, that because they have never been homeless before, and this is new to them. And when they come to us broken. They come to us depressed. They come to us angry and bitter, and they just have all these types of emotions that are going on in there. And that's why we work with we partner with a therapist that will come in and hopefully will talk to them, because again, mental health is a big thing now, and we try to work with the guests and helping them to overcome these mental challenges that they're having.
Because I understand it, if you've been homeless out there long enough, that your psychological state begins to dim. That
Right.
that loss of hope, for example, but also loss of awareness. I mean, see that setting in. I mean, and how does one overcome that, especially somebody who's been homeless for a while?
Well, that's why we try to we try to offer them hope. And the mission of our shelter is no secret. We offer them we offer them Jesus. That's our main focus of our shelter, and to give them hope. We have a devotional service. We have staff that can pray with them. And I'm definitely using my pastoral skills because I talk to the guests just about every day, um, and we try to make it normal for our guests. That's why when I came to the shelter, I wanted to make the shelter form of a home. Like this is, and I tell the guests, this is their home away from home. Treat this shelter like it's your home. We have healthy meals. They eat real good. And so we have healthy meals, and we have movie night. We have all types of activities for them to engage in, and that seems to be helping. That seems to be working, especially for our children. When they come in after school, I make sure I have some candy for them. Now I said, make sure you ask your mother.
Right, right.
And then I give the children, even before they go to school. If I catch them before they go to school, I make sure I give them a hug. Say, hey, look, and I always tell them, make good choices today. Make good choices. And so we're building. Hopefully, we're building a legacy in these families.
I mean, I suppose that's really what it's all about.
Yep.
When you talk about praying with them, to try to get them through this, what is that like? I mean, what takes inside that experience? I mean, for you, but for
Yeah.
them, and what an example, that'd be great. But just, I mean, what is that that spiritual element? I think.
Okay. Like I had one gentleman. He came to me, and he said I just need someone to share my experiences with, and sometimes all you have to do is just listen, and when they talk and when they get it out, they say, wow, I feel better. I feel like it's been a load lifted off of me. So sometimes you just have to be a good listener. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything. It's just that ministry of listening. And sometimes people just have to get it out. And if they get it out, they were like, you know what? I answered my own question. And they'll say, thank you. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for listening to me. And they just really need somebody to listen to them.
One of the elements, by the way, I was talking to Celeste Savage with over at Halo, and she said one of the most important elements when she's dealing with the homeless is that they need a sense of being loved.
Hmm.
you think that's
Absolutely.
would you see that?
Absolutely, because it seems like everywhere they go, they are experiencing hate,
Hmm.
and that's one thing that I tell my staff that we must practice. That we are an extension of God's love. We are a reflection of His love, and that's what it's all about. We just have to love on them, even if they don't deserve.
Or at least they may not think it was.
Well, yeah, right. But we just really need to love them beyond their faults. Love them back to health. So the Bible said love never fails, and so we have to practice that.
These, of course, are the holidays.
Yeah.
Is this one of the most difficult times for people psychologically? Because on the one hand, we obviously see people going around, and there's the bright stores, and there are people buying things, and so on and so forth. And then if you're out on the street alone, or even with your family, you're seeing this, and it's quite depressing. What does that have an impact on them? Do you think?
It is to see everybody else shopping and doing things, and then the families have seen that, oh man, I can't get my children anything. And that's why we try to make the holiday special for the children. We try to make it real special. And I'm glad that we have businesses, we have donors. My church is going to take a family this year. We have companies that's willing to donate to children. We're getting funds from WBOC Bless Our Children, and that's such a blessing to have the community to rally around us and to support these families.
Christmas, kids get gifts.
Oh man!
And what is the reaction? I mean,
Woo,
any examples there?
Man, some of these children, man, they get one got last year they got a hoverboard. They got video games. I bought all the children tablets. I was able to get them tablets, and man, it was like, ooh, to see their faces light up, man. It's breathtaking. It's breathtaking. And to hear one child say, "Wow, this is the best Christmas I ever had," I'm like, "Wow."
And in a homeless shelter, no doubt.
Yeah, right. And to make this happen, sometimes we pray for people that God will solve their problems, but I think sometimes God wants us to be the problem solver, and so and that's what what the holidays are all about. Making other people feel wanted and needed and loved and cherished.
In terms of their own families, their extended families, some are able to connect to relatives, others not. What is that like? Some take them in for a little while, as I understand,
Right.
But others not so much.
Yeah, it's sad. They say, well, you got to leave here. You got to find another place to stay, and that has to be disheartening, because it seems like that family have turned their backs on them, and if and again, it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming to experience that.
I mean, that's got to really, particularly if they get turned away, that's got to be extremely cutting, I guess, for an individual,
Right.
Especially if there might be even some legitimate issues. I mean,
Yeah, and it's always an underlying issue.
Yeah.
We don't know all the facts that goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
Yeah, but again, we try to, and again, we try to teach the families. We try to teach them about life. I tell them you get to choose the choice, but you don't get to choose the consequences. And sometimes these are the consequences of your choices. So,
In terms, by the way, of developing skills to be able to then move on to, say, a home, what kind of deficiencies are you seeing? I mean, I think I read where one, I don't know if it's a majority of, but a major portion of, for instance, women who are homeless don't even have a high school degree, a high school diploma. What is that like in terms of, because it's one thing to get them out of the cold, but then to prepare them to go get back into this highly competitive economy. I mean,
yeah.
what's How do you deal with that? I mean, how do you get them up to speed?
Yeah, well, we try to we try to instill some values in them. We try to encourage them, to get your high school diploma. We encourage them to take our financial literacy class. We try to encourage them to take parenting classes because some of these homeless individuals, they have never been taught the basic skills of life, and that's sad that you're dealing with a 25-year-old who don't know how to clean a room, or who don't know how to care for her children and so forth, and we try to instill those values in them, that they're going to those survival skills that they're going to need. And like you said, it's one thing to get them out of a cold, but it's another thing to teach them the basic skills of life.
Why do you think they didn't learn it? What is their deficiency? What deficiency do you think we have in our society that we allow that to happen?
Well, we're seeing now that the parents are children themselves, and we're seeing that now. When I was growing up, the average age of our grandparents were like 60 and 70 years old, so they had life experience. Nowadays the average age of a grandmother is 30,
Hmm.
35. so so,
Yeah.
it could be a number of things. It could be mental health. It could be a lack of a training from the mother herself. That her mother's never trained her anything. So I'm seeing this domino effect, that we pass down these generational curses down to our children.
Now we are sort of beginning to get out of from under the pandemic, the COVID pandemic,
Okay.
although it is still there. We should
Hmm.
be keeping that in mind.
Yep.
What kind of impact has that had? Well, first of all, what kind of impact has that had on the homeless?
Well, we just actually we're going through an outbreak. We had an
Mm.
outbreak, and so but I'm glad that we're able to test our guests. We have a health agency that comes in every Saturday to test our guests, to make sure that our guests, when the pandemic, yeah, we definitely took a big hit, because we had to minimize the number of guests that we've taken in. That kind of hit us hard. We just had to learn to do some things different, and we had to take precaution. Everybody, of course, everybody had to wear a mask. We make sure everybody washed their hands and sanitized. We had to wipe down the doorknobs and so forth. So it was a very challenging experience.
Are you seeing then the lingering effects of this,
Yeah,
or yeah?
yeah, because we had a total of 5 guests that have tested positive recently, and so we had to connect with the health department, and we have to connect with the with agencies that pay for hotel, that guests that our guests that experience the COVID, that have COVID symptoms and so forth, who got COVID because they couldn't, because we don't have a place for them to
Isolate
stay.
them, yeah.
Yeah, so we had to partner with other agencies, and thankful that we partnered with the agency that paid for their hotel while they were recuperating from COVID.
How has this, by the way, had as terms of an impact on your staff and volunteers for the periods?
Well, the older volunteers, we had some older volunteers. I don't think they're coming back, and we understand that. We
Right.
we understand that. So we're in the process of recruiting new volunteers. And as far as our staff, we didn't. We had a couple of our staff that have tested positive, and
Mhm.
we kind of made it through. We made it through that opposition. And so, but yeah, it had a great impact on us.
Psychologically, did the stress Was there some stress, do you think, for them?
Yes,
No.
but they lean to their faith. Most of my staff have had leaned on their faith to get them through that.
So when you look ahead, we keep on seeing these good unemployment numbers, and although we have obviously inflation going on, as you look ahead,
Mhm.
what do you see for the homeless? I mean, will things get better, you think, or after
Well,
this?
we're trying to advocate. I'm part of the COC. We're trying to advocate because hopefully we got some new lawmakers because of the election, and we're going to go after the lawmakers to get them to pour more funding into housing because we see that this is a big need, and it's not only in this area; it's nationwide that we have a major housing crisis here in the in our nation, and we need more funding in our housing situation. So we're going to pull on the coattails of the legislators
Right.
and say, "Hey, look here, we have situations here."
How do you say how the city and the county is handling this? I know that Mayor Jake Day of Salisbury, he's
Hmm.
made this a big issue, particularly for vets,
Right.
but for others as well. We have
Yeah.
the tiny
Tiny.
houses
Yeah.
initiative and so on.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, I think the tiny house, well, they are experiencing some challenges now.
I
So
understand. Yeah,
so
right.
hopefully, hopefully they'll get those rectified, and hopefully that just hopefully it'll house the chronic homeless if they want to stay there, because that's going to be a challenge because they don't like to stay in one place.
Right.
So we're hoping that this is going to be a beginning of a resolution, and so hopefully through the tiny houses, hopefully other initiatives will be developed out of this. But I think it is a start, but it is a joint effort. It is going to take all of us to come together and really really do a full court press on the situation of housing.
Do you see this then getting better? Then do you think? I mean, you do you have some optimism about getting the housing and just in general getting the kind of assistance that might be required for this, or are you, or is it measured? I don't know.
It just depends on the priorities of the
Yeah.
legislators.
Right.
It's just that I believe we can invest in some of the dilapidated houses and some of the abandoned buildings, and we can turn those into housing projects and so forth. So it's just remained to be seen.
Hmm.
It just remained to be seen.
And finally, in this Christmas season, of course, we have the churches who are opening up their doors, particularly as it gets cold. What kind of role do you see them playing in all of this? And obviously, you interact with them a lot.
Well, the churches they do a good job of feeding, but I think the churches kind of push back on opening their doors because um, and the reason why I say that is because some of the homeless people were tearing up their facilities and so forth, and I think that's why the churches kind of say, hey, look, we might need to push back. We might need to do something different. We may need to feed them and provide for them, but not house them because when the cold weather shelter first started, we had different type of churches that will open up their doors. But I think that kind of got really out of hand, and so the churches felt that they had to do something different. And but the Walter Davis he found a building, got a funding. He opened up hearts and hands ended homelessness, and that's out there by the somewhere by the stadium. He's got a facility out there, and but he said the second day that he opened that they were full,
Mm.
and I think they're full even as we speak. So I think people are doing different things to really try to help the homeless population.
Doesn't seem though with all the effort, it's still not enough.
Yeah, right. It's still not enough.
We've been speaking with Anthony Dickerson. He is the executive director of the Christian Shelter here in Salisbury. Appreciate you stopping by and chatting with us.
Thank you so much for having me, and Merry Christmas to you.
And Merry Christmas to you too, and a Happy New Year.
Yes.
Hopefully better than the last year,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
This has been Delmarva Today. I'm Don Rush. Thanks for listening. Delmarva Today with Don Rush.